Washington Post reporter Jenna Johnson joins us now. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's starting with Secretary of State Romney, Tillerson, and Giuliani. Who do you think has the best chance of being picked out of those three?
You know what? I have given up predicting anything when it comes to Donald Trump, so please don't put me on the spot like that. All three of these men have strong cases that they can make to Donald Trump. For Rudy Giuliani, it's the devotion that he showed to Trump, especially during moments on the campaign trail when pretty much no one else would stand with him. With the ExxonMobil leader, someone who has made deals all around the world, who can relate to Donald Trump as being a business leader and someone who knows how to negotiate. And then Mitt Romney, someone who, also comes from the business world, also can relate to Donald Trump on that way. But the big thing holding Mitt Romney back is that he and Donald Trump have not had a good relationship for the past year. They seem to have mended fences, they've had dinner together, they've been friendly together. But a big question in Donald Trump's circles is, can Donald Trump trust Mitt Romney? Can the two of them really see eye in eye enough to put Mitt Romney in this very prominent position?
Jen, it sounds like they're really expanding the search. Who's not on this top three list still in the running?
So there's been a long list. People who say that they're being considered, yet we don't hear those names from transition officials saying who they think is being considered. From everything that we gather, it really has come down to these three. But again, at any point, Donald Trump could decide that he wants to again widen the search. Not too long ago, we thought we were down to just a few candidates, and he again widened it and kept looking. So we'll wait and see, but he has said himself he expects to make a decision next week.
Jenna, the president-elect, as you know, ran most of his campaign on the idea of draining the swamp. But it appears to a lot of people that his transition team has named several millionaires and billionaires for top jobs. Folks like Carl Putzter of CKE Restaurants, the former Goldman Sachs banker, Steve Mnuchin, whose father was also a Goldman Sachs banker. It's just interesting that throughout the campaign, he attacked Secretary Clinton for her ties to Wall Street, as did Bernie Sanders, and rightfully so, but that he's gone ahead and put people that are very far removed from those folks that he was talking to in those states that he did so well in.
Yeah, supporters of Hillary Clinton and people who have worked with her over the years have been on Twitter just shaking their heads saying, can you imagine if Hillary Clinton appointed some of the top donors to the Clinton Foundation to some of these positions? Can you imagine the blowback at that place? But again, Donald Trump, he does things differently. He has said that he wants to drain the swamp. That definition has come to mean something, I think, different than what he was saying on the campaign trail. It's more of a different approach than actually getting rid of wealthy people or getting rid of people who are already in Washington. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what else happens, and if the American people are gonna be okay with these picks, and if the Senate is going to confirm them.
All right, Jenna, you wrote a very interesting story in the Washington Post about what happens when Trump targets and attacks a private citizen on Twitter. You talk about this young woman at a political forum in New Hampshire last year who told Trump she didn't think he was a friend of women. Tell us what happened to her.
So this was more than a year ago. In October 2015, Donald Trump was at a political forum in New Hampshire taking questions from the audience, and took this question from this 18-year-old. And it was this quick moment in the spotlight for her. Her putting her hands on her hips and asking a tough question to a candidate for president, something that we see happen again and again and again on campaign trails. But in the hours that followed, there was this online investigation into who this woman was. It turned out she was a volunteer for Jeb Bush, an unpaid volunteer for Jeb Bush. But all these conspiracy theories started growing about what her role was and if she was a plant and things like that. That next morning, Donald Trump tweeted about her, calling her an arrogant young woman, and in another tweet, calling her a plant. And as soon as those tweets went out, her phone started ringing, her inboxes filled up with really nasty, threatening messages. And the thing that really surprised me, we've seen this happen to a lot of people. That was a year ago. This young woman is still receiving threatening messages today, a year later. The abuse continues all this time later.
And Jenna, as you know, Trump also targeted Indiana Union leader Chuck Jones on Twitter this week after Jones simply called him out on the actual number of jobs from the carrier company he saved. He's said many, many times he doesn't have a problem with the president-elect, but that the number of jobs that he was touting were incorrect. You know, the president-elect is going to be inheriting the POTUS Twitter account very soon. I mean, should we expect that he's going to change? My feeling is that probably not, because he's been doing this all along. But once he takes the oath, do you think something's going to change there, or will he continue to do that?
So Donald Trump punches back when he feels like he's been punched. And it doesn't matter if it's an 18-year-old college student or a union leader that no one's ever heard of, or a Gold Star family, or someone on Broadway. Anyone at all who attacks him and gets any sort of recognition for that attack can expect to be punched back by him, whether on Twitter or in some other way. The thing that Donald Trump needs to realize is that now that he's the president-elect, and when he goes into the White House, his words have even more meaning now than ever before. A year ago, when he went after this young woman on Twitter, he had fewer than 5 million followers at that point. He now has 17 million followers. People are listening to what he says, and his words have an impact, and he needs to decide how he wants to use that power.
Are you hearing, Jenna, from either folks on his transition team or other sources in Washington, D.C., that ultimately this is not a winning strategy for the president-elect? It's okay to go after Hillary Clinton. It's okay to go after people that disagree with you who are politicians and are used to doing that. But when you go after ordinary citizens, like the young woman profiled in your piece, or even a blue-collar worker who all of a sudden finds his life completely blown up because the president-elect is tweeting at him, is that something that is sustainable?
He has been told that time and time and time again. People on his team, as his team changed over the months, told him that. His wife has said that she has told him this. His daughters have told him this. And he continues to be who he is. Maybe he'll change, maybe not. But it comes down to him and how he wants to use Twitter.
Jenna, President Obama has ordered a full review into whether Russian hacking may have disrupted the election. Many Republicans support that, but Trump has a bit of a perception problem when it comes to Russia, especially if he picks Tillerson for Secretary of State since he has ties to Vladimir Putin. Does Trump need to address those concerns?
This is a big divide. There are still a lot of Republicans who are very cautious of Russia, and for a lot of good reasons. A big one being all of these different intelligence reports that found that the Russian government likely tried interfering with the American election. And that's something that not just President Obama wants to explore, but that a lot of Republicans want to explore. This is something that Donald Trump has not believed and has shown no interest in exploring. And again, we're going to have to wait and see. This is a key issue where he clearly does not stand with other members of his party. And we're going to have to see, is this something that they just agree to disagree about? Is he going to try to throw the brakes on this? Is he going to go along with it? We're just going to have to wait and see.
All right, Jenna Johnson, thank you so much for your time and your insight.
Thank you.